You need a wife, and I need a dad. The black limousine sat parked along the quiet street, its engine humming softly in the afternoon light. Inside, Marcus Sullivan stared out the tinted window, his tie loosened after another exhausting day at the office. At 32, he had built an empire. His technology company was worth billions. His name appeared in magazines. His face was recognized at every high-end restaurant in the city, but none of it filled the emptiness that had settled in his chest over the past year. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar ache of loneliness. His driver had stepped out to grab coffee, leaving him alone with his thoughts. The silence pressed against him like a weight. He had everything money could buy, yet he came home each night to an empty penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked a city full of people he didn't know. His phone buzzed with another notification, another business deal, another meeting, another opportunity to make more money he didn't need. He was about to close his eyes when he heard a small sound outside the car, a sniffle, then another. Marcus looked up and saw her through the window. A little girl stood on the sidewalk, no more than 6 years old, with long blonde hair pulled into pigtails. She wore a simple floral dress that was slightly too big for her small frame. In her arms, she clutched a white stuffed bunny, holding it close to her chest. Tears streaked down her round cheeks and her blue eyes were red from crying. She looked lost, frightened, alone. Marcus's heart clenched. Without thinking, he opened the car door and stepped out. "Hey," he said softly, kneeling down to her level. "Are you okay?" The little girl looked up at him with wide, watery eyes. She didn't answer right away, just hugged her bunny tighter. "Are you lost?" Marcus asked gently. "Where are your parents?" At the mention of parents, fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. She shook her head slowly. "I don't have a mommy," she whispered, her voice so small it almost broke Marcus's heart. "And my daddy's sick. He's in the hospital. The neighbor was watching me, but she had to leave, and I got scared, so I ran outside, and now I don't know where I am." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. He recognized that look in her eyes, that deep, aching loneliness, that feeling of being untethered in a world too big and too cold. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Emma," she said, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Emma Foster." "Well, Emma, my name is Marcus. And I promise you, we're going to figure this out together, okay? You're not alone anymore." Emma studied his face for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether she could trust him. Then, slowly, she nodded. Marcus pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "I need you to track down information on a sick patient, probably admitted in the last day or two. Last name Foster. Young daughter named Emma. Get me the hospital and room number immediately." While they waited, Marcus opened the limousine door. "Would you like to sit inside where it's comfortable?" "It's getting chilly out here." Emma hesitated, then climbed into the car, her small shoes barely touching the floor. She settled into the leather seat, looking around with wide eyes at the luxurious interior. "This is a really fancy car," she said quietly. "It is," Marcus agreed, sitting across from her. "Though, honestly, it's pretty lonely in here most days." Emma tilted her head, considering him with the strange wisdom that children sometimes possess. "You look sad," she observed. Marcus smiled sadly. "I guess I am, a little bit. Why?" He wasn't sure how to explain it to a 6-year-old. How could he tell her that success felt hollow when you had no one to share it with? That his childhood had been just as lonely, and now he was repeating the pattern his own parents had created? "I guess I've been spending so much time working that I forgot to make room for people in my life," he said finally. Emma nodded seriously, as if this made perfect sense to her. Then she looked down at her bunny, her lower lip trembling again. "I'm scared my daddy won't get better," she whispered. "He's all I have. If he goes away, I'll be all alone." Marcus moved to sit beside her, and without thinking, he put his arm around her small shoulders. "Your daddy is going to fight really hard to come back to you, Emma. I can tell you're someone worth fighting for." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Emma looked up at him, and in that child's voice, full of innocent honesty, she said something that would change both their lives. "You need a wife," she whispered, and I need a dad." Marcus felt his breath catch. The simple truth of it struck him like lightning. Before he could respond, his phone rang. His assistant had found Emma's father, David Foster, admitted to Mercy General Hospital with pneumonia, currently stable and asking desperately about his daughter. The drive to the hospital took only 15 minutes, but in that time, Marcus learned everything about Emma Foster. Her favorite color was purple. She loved drawing pictures of rabbits. Her father worked 2 jobs to take care of her. They didn't have much money, but they had each other, and that had always been enough. Until now. When they arrived at the hospital, Emma's father was sitting up in bed, his face pale with worry. The moment he saw Emma, he burst into tears of relief. "Oh, baby girl," he sobbed as Emma ran into his arms. "I was so scared." Marcus stood in the doorway, watching the reunion. His throat felt tight. David Foster looked up, his eyes red. "Thank you," he said hoarsely. "Thank you for bringing her back to me." "She's a special kid," Marcus said quietly. Over the next hour, Marcus learned David's story. A single father who had lost his wife to cancer 3 years ago, working multiple jobs to make ends meet. No family nearby, no safety net. Just him and Emma against the world. When the doctor came in to check on David, Marcus pulled him aside. "Whatever medical bills he has, send them to me," Marcus said quietly. "And I want to set up a trust fund for Emma's education. Also, I'm hiring Mr. Foster for my company. Flexible hours, good benefits, enough salary that he only needs 1 job." The doctor stared at him. "That's incredibly generous," Marcus shook his head. "No, it's necessary." Before he left, Emma tugged on his sleeve. She handed him a drawing she'd made on a hospital notepad. It showed 3 stick figures, a tall man, a smaller man, and a little girl. They were all holding hands. "That's you and my daddy and me," she explained. "Because you're like family now." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. He knelt down and hugged her gently. "Thank you, Emma," he whispered. "You reminded me what really matters." As he walked out of the hospital that evening, Marcus realized something had shifted inside him. The emptiness he'd carried for so long felt smaller somehow. Not gone, but manageable. He had spent years building an empire, but a 6-year-old girl with a stuffed bunny had taught him the most important lesson. Real wealth wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in connection, in kindness, in showing up for people who needed you. Marcus pulled out his phone and looked at Emma's drawing. Then he smiled, a real smile, the first one in months, and headed home, already planning how he could make more room in his life for the things that truly mattered. Sometimes the smallest voices speak the biggest truths, and sometimes you find your family in the most unexpected places.